All right, I'd like to welcome everyone out to the Hurley Investments Financial Services Commentary. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of October. We are finishing up the year. With that said, last week I didn't come prepared with anything and just let you guys ask questions. Any questions out of the gate before I go into a couple things I wouldn't mind going over with you? Are there any questions you guys have out of the gate? If you don't, type in a no. If you do, obviously type in your question. But anything about last week that you'd like to go over? Dave said, so how are you doing this week on Baidu? Which is, I appreciate the question. And I'm just going to go to, let's do it this way. Baidu is making my year this year. Apple's probably making my year this year. Visa has done very well. Disney has done very well. For those who have been in past years where we've collected extra shares, obviously you're happy, but the short answer is Baidu has had a phenomenal run. If I go back the last couple, 6 months, I bet we're going to see a 50% run up, and it's only cost me about $8.80 to protect. Taking a quick look at this, in June, 173, I remember the 176 range, and now it's at 262. Pretty amazing, David, to have a run on Baidu. But right now, it's just now reaching that oversold. So most likely, I will be adding November. Long puts on the Baidu to protect it at 260, and off we go. I might be doing that as quickly as tomorrow. Even though tomorrow is going to be a bit of a travel day for me, heading out to the Florida area, it wouldn't hurt me to be having those on tomorrow. So tomorrow it is. The curiosity. I'm wondering if they still have earnings.com. It used to be a pay site, though. Reuters got it. I must say I did think it was quite funny that that not too long ago people were telling me, get out of Baidu, it's too risky, it's too this, it's too that. Little conviction goes a long way. PE is still 31, ridiculously high. They do have earnings coming up the 26th, but it was estimated. I was just trying to see if they have a better date for their earnings, but it does not look like it. Boy, imagine if they started paying a dividend. Then maybe more people would like Baidu. So, Dave, I forgot where your question came out from, but yes, we're still in Baidu, and we do like where it's at. Yes, Dave, I made the comment. It cost me like $8.80. In this 6-month run, so to speak, and I guess let me clarify that. We had our earnings, so since May's earnings, which we had a little downward movement, I've only had to buy protection once for about $8.80, and I believe I sold some of it off, so I'm not even sure it cost me the full $8.80. But to go from 179 to 262, just taking a quick peek at my calculator here, 179 minus 262 is equal to $83 minus, I'm going to say $9 for the long puts that I bought. We've had a $76 run up. So a lot of my profits this year are coming from Baidu. And if I can go ahead and pull it out even farther, let me go to a 1-year chart so you can see from this year. In fact, that'd probably just be 11 months, give you an idea. If I go ahead and I pull up the chart, what if at 162, I just let it go? What if I decided, you know what, at $162 here, I'm just going to let it run? Well, I'd look really good, and then people would freak out as we lost $12, or roughly 6.6%, 188 down to 166. There's a good $22 drop there, so that's more than 10%. 88.74, 10%, 193 to 173, another 10%, and then we took off. So it was a volatile year. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had one, if not two, opportunities there to add more shares to people's accounts. If they only had 500 shares, then I probably only added 100, or I just lowered cost basis by taking profits with those long puts. But the idea of a collar trade is to be able to stay in your stock positions until you have the big run up. If I erase my drawings here, and let me go back and look at one that we're kind of stuck in right now that has not been all that helpful. Ford. Stuck in Ford. In fact, unfortunately, this thing was up to 272 beginning of the year. And we're only trading at 239 today. We've made some great runs to the downside with collecting some pretty good premium. Good opportunity for my Ford people to have a couple hundred shares of Ford added into it. Some people were going, my goodness, Kevin, what are you doing? And it's really nice to be up on Ford, but it, you know, yes, it's had a move from 1047. I've talked about it here recently. 1047 up to 1246, currently trading at 1239. You know, took off long put protection down at the 1070 range. So it was a nice opportunity to let bullish stocks run. With that said, and yes, I will go ahead and take a peek at it. David, what's my next plan on Costco? Right now, I do not have any positions in Costco. And my trigger, even though it was up somewhat nicely today, let's see where it was up. up $2.26. My trigger is a 50-day simple moving average at 159.16. And really my trigger was down here at 151. And of course it's trading at 156.87. I don't feel the need to rush to put on more positions. When people talk about how did you know to get in or what your trigger is, what starts you for your movement in, we're not like all the other people that just literally, hey, let's throw him in, let's put his money to work so we can start to charge him more. We did the best we could to make some money on Costco. And right now it's trading between the 50-day simple moving average and the last area that it bounced up from. Couldn't you put money in yesterday? I could have, but there was no trigger. It would be a wild guess. And with all due respect to everyone that's here, I trade my own money with those that are my clients. I would never wild guess my money, so I'm not going to wild guess theirs. I don't trade on wild guesses. That is, and pardon the way I'm saying this, David, it's just stupid. It's dumb. You don't need an advisor to guess and let it all ride on Costco or Apple or Baidu or Ford. It's a methodical, boring process, and I never came down to that 151 range, the 151.50 range to start to add some long calls, so it's just in no man's land. Well, what if it gets above 159? I missed out from 155 to 159. David, with all due respect, cry me a river. Stocks move. I'm not too worried about catching the bottoms, every single penny on the upside. It's a fruitless endeavor. So if it breaks 159, I will add some more long calls, but instead of 150 out to June, we'll probably add some 160s out to June. Then if it breaks 161.73, the 200-day simple moving average, even though it had great earnings, I'll add another couple contracts there. And then we'll run it up to that 167, 169 range, and obviously I'll take some off, but I'll keep some in play. You react to what's given to you. You don't outguess. What I do is I collar trade. I'm protecting stock positions at the time period where it should be the most volatile. And from there, off we go to the races. The comments were, Kevin, you've gotten called out on a couple things, and that is correct. I have been called out on a couple things, in which case I'm looking to put that money into new positions. I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find it, but I've got, I will add some, an email to this that's going to be an email that's going to show you that the next profitable positions the next profitable sectors and positions you might get into would be financials, meaning the banks, because they haven't risen up since the big drop. At least some of them haven't. We have healthcare, which I don't actively trade too much, and then we have technology. And technology would be primarily a Christmas rally play. Richard, what were your triggers to get out? Richard, when we broke the 50-day or the 200-day, we exited a third of our long call contracts for a profit after the earnings, and we could see that it was going down. When it was down about $6.70, we exited our remaining two contracts for a profit. With that said, the trigger was, and part of the way I'm going to say this, stupidity on a great earnings report that Costco got no love. So I was more interested in taking profits off the table than hoping for a bounce. I don't trade on hope. It's not part of what I do. So I did the best I could to just take my profits, and take them systematically? Good question, Richard. So, any other questions that you have? David again. What do I think about Apple? Apple, I went out to November 155s. So I had protection at 160. For a couple people, we did a little extra protection, but I'm now down to 155s, and I'm set for Apple at 155. That is where I'm going to run. Their earnings are right here trying to break above the 50-day simple moving average. I chose 155s because obviously it could come down to the next support level, which is going to be right at that 143 to 145 range. So, expectation on Apple. It's Christmas. There's a huge upgrade cycle. I've already done one phone. I'm going to do 3 more. I have a friend who's done 4 more. And unfortunately, I went to the 7 because I melted my phone. And I think I might move other family to the 7 as well. Maybe we'll get 1.8, couple 8s, play with them. I'm not a big fan of the X. In all honesty, I'm not a big fan of the 8 either right now. I'm a little worried about an all-glass phone. It's kind of funny, I've had some people talk to me, well, I've never broken a phone. And then the next 2 weeks I look at their phone, and it's smashed to hell. My kids or my family, we're rough on our phones. I probably, for the 4 or 5 phones that we have, once a quarter, every 3 months, I'm replacing a screen. Replacing screens on iPads. It's just the way my family is. We have cases, but we're active family members, and our phones are just we're rough on them. So for me, pretty cool to have a phone that'll charge just sitting it on a charging pad. Pretty neat that it'll have an opportunity to go all the way out to the edge of the screens. But because it's all glass, and you know, Cook or Ivy, who claims this is the toughest Gorilla Glass, I didn't see him take a hammer to the glass or drop their phones during their presentation. In fact, I saw their presentation have a problem for the 8.5 minutes or 8 minutes and 53 seconds that I watched. It actually had a problem with their facial recognition, which is kind of a bummer when you're trying to show off your newest software and it has a bug in it as you're trying to show it off. And it wasn't a real bug, it wasn't clean. They had to turn it off, not turn off, but shut it, turn off the facial recognition, bring it back up, and then it recognized the gentleman, and it was pretty smooth from there. So Apple, November 155 long puts, and I'm running it through earnings, which is coming out on the 2nd after the market closes. In fact, this week we have Bank of America. Bank of America and JP Morgan. For clientele, Bank of America is on Friday. We have November $26 long puts in place. Citibank is also tomorrow for those few clients that I have in Citibank, over the million group, so to speak, that's 750,000 up to $1 million. And we have November 75 long puts on Citi. But the real quote-unquote mover for this week is going to come down to JP Morgan tomorrow. On Thursday. You want to see our markets continue this ridiculous upside move? Welcome to the first week of the financials earnings. This is coming before we run into Alcoa and the true start of the earnings season, which is on the 18th. So we'll have this week and next week, which we'll see financials, meaning banks. We have BlackRock on Wednesday, Delta Airlines, Thursday Citigroup, Domino's, and JP Morgan. And you could see JP Morgan over 100. If you did, boy, our markets could really head higher from there on the backs of some financials that haven't moved. Now, JP Morgan has recovered, but for those that are wondering why I'm preaching financials, it's pretty simple. I'm going to go back 5 years. It doesn't quite need to be this far, but if you take a look, let's see if I can grab it. How did I do this last time? I really need to go back 5 years, but let's see if it gives me a way to slide it down around. No. Boy, I wish I paid attention to how I did this previously. Anyone know how I get out to the 5-year mark? How I'm supposed to slide this around? What I'm supposed to do? I think I did it last time on, you know what? I'm just going to go back. Give me a second. Let me go to E-Trade. E-Trade really doesn't have the best of charts. In fact, their charts leave a lot to be desired. But I'm also a keep it simple kind of guy, so the simpler I can keep it, the better. All right, let's get going here. Get a chart up. All righty. Citigroup, and I'm sorry the charts aren't all that great, but if I pulled out Citigroup and I said, give it to me on a 5-year chart, look how it says $500 here. So we can go back and find out that, hey, there was a time where the price range was at 500. Has Citigroup recovered from the recession, or even from 2008? Not really. It's not recovered. It's not there. There is some room for Citi to move higher, and for that reason, I'm trading it. Even to 2009, we were at 250. You could actually keep going. That's only 50. So there is some upside potential there. What I like on Bank of America, for those that maybe don't have too much money to go into, you can see it's trading at 26. not bad for its yearly time, but take a peek as we change this just a little bit and go back to, oh, here we go, 30 in 2009, all the way up to, if you go up a little bit higher here, up to 60, close to 60. And then again, Zions Bank is much the same thing. And I know I showed some of this to you before. Zions Bank at 47. How high could Zions Bank go? Well, here it is at 75, and that's back to 2008. And if you went back even farther, probably had a stock split actually. You could see it up as high as 160. So I'm looking at some of those positions for growth and opportunity, and looking in general. You know, we're trading a bunch of Apple, 5,400 shares. We've got AOBC, which is the old Smith & Wesson. Baidu shares, 5,500 Baidu shares. Citi, we got some Celdex, DH Horton, 2,500. Need to protect these pretty soon for their earnings coming up in a couple weeks. Disney, kind of set for Disney. Have November 97 50s, expecting 100 to hold. We'll probably run Disney that way. Ford, need to get some protection on Ford. 5,700 shares, 26 before the market opens. Facebook, I'm pretty much set for Facebook. If anything, I need to add some more shares through some people's accounts. 2,500 with 170 puts and 180 calls. NVIDIA, hopefully I'll get called away on these guys. $42 covered calls with an $18 credit. 5,300 shares there, and you know it's a pretty basic position. SPY covered calls. Zions Bank is down there. Visa, I will probably run Visa with a 95 and a 92.50 covered call and just let them run. It's supposed to pull back, but it's not pulling back. So in short, there's my portfolio. Looks like we have a question coming in. Abraham, but Citi is quite different from the one in 2009. So a comeback is not really a good probability. They had sold good stuff, and today the market is much more competitive with much lower margin. Hurley, no. You're correct. The Citi of today is not anything close to what it was in 2008. But let me throw a couple buts at you. But technicians don't look at that. Technicians look at just charts. Citi, still doing everything that it is allowed to do within the new Dodd-Frank's reserve requirements, and they're still one of the few that does prop trading and doing it quite well. I don't know, in all honesty, if they sold off a division or not, but if they have sold off, they appear to have sold off their divisions that were costing them money and focused on the opportunity of making money here, coming here forward. So, plain and simple, will it probably get up to 500? Definitely not anytime soon. But at 75, can it get up to 100 or 150 and double from here? Most definitely. And the reason why is because it's had too much regulation, and it hasn't been allowed to get up to where it was in the past. Now, I'm not a fan of Dodd-Frank. It did nothing by way of regulatory standards to protect individuals from registered investment advisors. It did not protect them from Bernie Madoffs. In fact, all it did is give the small guy like me, 23 million under management, 16 more hours of paperwork to do. That's all it has done. So because of that, tax reform is supposed to also reduce some of the Dodd-Frank regulations, as well as allow them to truly make money without increasing the cost basis. So with that said, you know, hopefully we'll see a nice run on Citi, even though they are not the same company. We'll probably not get up to 500, but definitely through evaluation can get up to 150. So good comment, good observation, Abraham. And there you're kind of picking my brain on what I see and why. So with that said, taking just a little bit of time here, pretty quiet week, which is interesting or fun for me, but there's no real earnings reports until Friday. So here we are with a way overbought bullish Dow. Only 30 companies, don't pay too much attention. Well, dang it. Way overbought S&P. And it's funny because I heard just the last little bit of Kramer, hey, you can't rely just on the FANG stocks. And we're just bullish and almost overbought. But obviously we're not as overbought as you would expect for the way Kramer was talking on his show today. At least the last 5 minutes as I was driving. In all reality, still looking at 2% October. Don't know if I'll be right or not. We've gone over earnings. First time in forever that I can remember a small business optimism, which came in at 103.0, expected to come in at 105.3. I found myself, as I looked at this this particular economic report, one that I'm not too familiar with. So I just found myself having the ability to start to study here and spend a little more time going over exactly what is a small business optimism report. Really, Friday will be the movement, retail sales, retail without transportation, Michigan sentiment, and business inventories. It'll be Friday that'll move based on economic reports. International, nothing really stood out to me except for maybe on Sunday we'll have China that will have their inflation reports. Really, you've got some sprinkling of inflation reports for Germany, France, Italy. What else can I tell you? Quite a bit comes out from Japan this week, machine orders and so forth, but nothing jumped out at me as the need to write anything internationally. I've updated the list on earnings, so I'm prepping for earnings that will be coming up in the near future for a lot of companies. But for some of them, Apple, Bank of America, Disney, Visa, I already have my positions covered. So I guess I'm going to be good to go for all intents and purposes. With that said, any questions? Sorry, I kind of took more out of the start. I will have a couple of I will hopefully, I understand, tonight have stuff fixed, so you'll see the last couple of recordings and my chat's uploaded onto the website. That's myhurleyinvestment.com. Again, myhurleyinvestment.com. But any questions you guys have, and if not, let's call it a night, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Next week, I will most likely be talking to you from Houston. Pretty neat. Finally, some things have moved. And obviously, if you take a peek, year-to-date gains, 1273, you subtract that out, we're looking at about a 20% return year-to-date. Pretty darn good. In fact, for people that had $500,000 or more, those people finally got some things moving. I know some people sat for a while and thought, come on, Kevin, just nothing's happening. I can't predict the market, but yes, $500,000 or more, we're going to make those ones are definitely up in that 25% range year to date. Go Baidu, go. Go Apple, go Disney, go Visa. Abraham says, I hope you're not telling me, Houston, we have a problem. You know, I hope not either. All right, guys. Hey, appreciate your time tonight. I will get the last 3 of these uploaded. Again, for why we're on Disney, go back to My Hurley Investment and run into to the 19th of September, where you see me go through and dig through the numbers and just how insignificant ESPN is. With that said, guys, I appreciate you being here tonight. All of you that came in, I see a couple of you that have been here for first time in a while. Nice to have you guys back. Look forward to seeing you next week on Tuesday in Houston. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.